Good evening, everyone. It's really great to be here. I saw so many familiar faces, our board members, our IC and RC members. It really feels like being in a community. I stood on this stage twice before. Once as a recipient of the Galanter Award for Leadership, and once again, just last year, as the Executive Director of NIF in Israel. But I want to be honest with you. This year, I'm more nervous than ever. Because this is the time I'm here as something I didn't plan to be. The person who is filling Daniel Sokach's huge shoes when he's in sabbatical. And this story actually starts at JFK in mid-December. My husband, her two daughters, Tel Aviv girls through and through, girls that never seen snow in their life, but they were very, very excited to see the New York snow because they thought it's going to be just like the film Frozen from Disney. They were looking for Elsa, for Anna, but it was nothing like they were expecting. To be honest, it was nothing like I was expecting. And I don't only talk about the really cold East Coast winter. I arrived with 6 suitcases, a lot of ambition, and a very clear idea of what I was going to do. I wanted to sharpen our message, to define what we actually mean when we say we're fighting for Israeli democracy. Because in this era, everyone uses the word democracy and means something completely different. For us, it's concrete. There is no democracy in Israel without a full equality for Palestinian citizens of Israel. There is no such a thing as a democracy with an occupation. And there is no such a thing as a democracy without civil rights for everyone. And I had very practical plans in my pocket. One focused on the unbearable, painful rise of settler violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. The other was to ensure free and fair elections in such critical moment for Israel's futures. I had a plan, I had a timeline. Talking points were ready. I knew the story of NIF, and I actually thought I knew the community pretty well. I was ready. And then I started meeting people. Not over Zoom, not in conferences room, face-to-face, over coffee, over dinner, in their living rooms. And what I kept hearing wasn't a hunger for strategic framework. It was something more personal than that. What I saw were people in pain. People who love Israel and feel betrayed by it. People trying to figure out what do they call themselves and whether the words they grew up with still fit. People who don't know how to explain Israel to their neighbors anymore and who worry deeply about the connection of their children and grandchildren will have to Israel, and whether this connection will survive. People who are alarmed by rising anti-Semitism, and at the same time alarmed by how anti-Semitism is being weaponized. People who feel abandoned by their own communal institutions, told to be quiet, stay in line, that this is not a time for complexity. People watched Israel-Palestine stop being political debate and become a battlefield of identity politics, where some of the loudest voices aren't even looking for solutions. And I found myself thinking, this is the work. Not instead of strategy, but underneath it, in a way before it. I realized our supporters need NIF in a different way now. NIF has become a place for thousands of American Jews who refuse to choose between their values and their connection to Israel. And that's not a soft position, that's a bold position. We believe in a future where Israelis and Palestinians both live in dignity, freedom, and security. Not one people on the expense of the other. And that's not naivety. That's the only conclusion available to anyone who understands this history deeply. We've put this belief to test. On October 7th, NIF was among the first organizations on the ground for the communities that were attacked. And in the months following, We were the first major American Jewish organization to support delivery of significant humanitarian help into Gaza. So let me say something clearly. As an Israeli, I want to say it fully. NIF today has a dual mission, where the engine behind the fight for an equal democratic Israel, a one that pursues peace. And we are the home for American Jews who are looking for connection to Israelis fighting for the same future. Not two separate things, one thing. A few weeks ago, our board member and a friend of mine, Dr. Nasrin Hajiri Haddad, was in New York. Nasrin is a Palestinian citizen of Israel, a brilliant researcher on equality and minority integration. She has over 500 family members in Gaza and a significant family presence in the West Bank. She came here to meet the Jewish community. She sat with people. She listened to their pain, to the despair, to those who are ready to give up on Israel entirely. And then, at one of our events, in a small synagogue in Brooklyn, just next to my house, she looked people in the eyes and said something I haven't been able to stop thinking about. And I'm quoting, "I'm not giving up. If I'm still fighting, then all of us can. Because when you give up on Israel, you don't give up on extreme settlers or hilltop youth. You are giving up on me and on my daughters. The bridge we are building at NIF is the bridge between Nasrin and her daughters and this room, who care about Jews and Palestinians in the land. That's why this community matters so much. That's why letting go is not an option. And that's why I'm so proud to know that in the current moment, so many more people all through this country and around the world see NIF as their home. In a few moments, you'll see people doing this work. The ones who show up every day in the Knesset, in the West Bank, in research institutions, and courtrooms and community centers, Jews and Arabs alike, working together in the most urgent places for Israel, for an Israel we can all be proud of. They are the reason this community exists, and this community is the reason they can keep going. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for making it possible. Together, we can, and it's possible, to bring a better day for Israel and for the community here. Thank you so much.